Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 54. So we got really cut off by our hardware problems last night. So we'll see how this one goes. We might get 2 hours if we're lucky. So I'll just do the usual checks, I guess, and cue some music. See how well that goes this time. Hey, we got some chatters on. Yeah, just note if you send messages before the live stream starts, all the ones that said before the live stream starts get deleted. But just type welcome message. Yeah, been better days. Everyone else has got a nasty flu going around, but it's not touching me because I have an overactive immune system. So that's one benefit of it. But the downside of an overactive immune system, probably can't hear me though. Easily. I should talk about it. Stop recording. Yeah, but yeah, overactive immune system affects the eyes. I'll talk about that in a minute. The CPU's looking pretty good tonight at the moment. Touch wood. Change screens. Okay, we're operational, I think. OT is now fully operational. Fire. A Star Wars thing. So, how's it going, Jamel? You missed me last night. Music is very addictive. Yeah, it's good music. Written by a German guy. And it's Creative Commons. It's free to use. So I use them a bit. But it's sort of music I used to write back in my youthful days when I was fucking around with early synthesizers. Except for mine's now up in the loft, so I can't sort of make my own melodies up. I was almost willing to bring up some online software and have a play, but I've probably forgotten a lot of stuff now. The wife is dancing to the background. So, how's Auckland? Getting warmer? It's been pretty bad down here with the weather. Rain and cold wind. So tonight I'm going to start talking about alien abductions and the new technology that's sort of rolling out slowly, which could benefit sky watchers, and also what I've heard about abduction cases about cameras malfunction. I'm going to sort of talk about some ideas I've had, and I've put it towards Bill from MUFON, my ideas, and he likes them and he's going to try them out. So we'll see what happens. I said I wish I could be over there investigating a particular case for him, because he just gives me some general things he works on, A particular case where the person gets abducted on a weekly basis. The camera that they've got for them to record nighttime simply malfunctions, but like what you see on these ghost hunting shows, where the demon or spirit sucks the battery dry. So yeah, just got some ideas that they could probably experiment with, or what I would be doing anyway, um, just to prove that it's a real thing happening. So yeah, it's quite an exciting sort of field actually, but nothing really much happens in Christchurch, and of course you need the money to buy the tech. So yeah, I got some health issues with bad back, and I had RSI from working years in the computer industry, so I can't grip things for too long or lift too heavy objects. But my health problems at the moment is overactive immune system, as I was saying on the intro, which attacks my eyes, attacks my own cells in the eyes, and causes debris in the eyes, which makes like a foggy cloud in the eye. So you have to use steroids drops to clear it up, or get injections in the eye to clear it up. But I've also got a cataracts. I think that's what it's called, where the white of the eye grows into the lens of the eye. So I've got to have an operation done this Christmas, or whatever the hospital, public hospital, cues it. But yeah, I suppose New Zealand we're lucky, and although the healthcare is better in Australia, they will operate it for free, which normally costs about $10,000 a eye, I think. So they've got to put artificial lenses on. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen when I have the operation, whether I'll be able to do streams for a while. Hopefully, it won't cause too much problems. But, so we'll see how it goes. My one's going to be a tricky operation, they said as well. I suppose it's got some microscopic blood supply problem or something. But also, I got diabetes on top of all that as well. So yeah, if you get high blood pressure or diabetes, it can rupture the arteries in the back of the eye and cause it to bleed into the eye, which causes again debris, but also can cause what you call it, scar tissue, to interfere with the reflection of the light into the eye. So yeah, you got to watch out for these health concerns. So at the moment, I'm trying to fend off this. This is flu that's taken out the parents and other people around me. And I've had it for 3 or 4 weeks now, and they just keep coughing and coughing. So the bugs is definitely getting worse. So yeah, I need to minimize that, I think. Where's my screen, command screen gone? So we got a couple of people watching. How's the volume sounding all right there? Because sort of goes crazy here with just one or two flickers, and it's hard to know how loud it is on the Google control panel. But what I think's been happening since I started streams is Google have been always tampering with their system of how they're doing it, trying to make it better and all that, but also increases how much CPU is consumed, I think, and it's gone up a bit. And Hangouts, as you know, they've made it worse. When I do presentations, the stuff that we get on the screen here, the writing, you can't read it half the time because it goes into this almost Egyptian writing with half characters and stuff. So yeah. So so yeah. So I've been very tired. I've had to sleep twice today. I'm not too sure if it's this bug trying to attack me and um, whatnot, or I've got some sort of new virus that makes you tired all the time. But it's hard to know what's going on. But hopefully it'll bug us off soon. So yeah, my main concern has been the computer though. I'm not sure if it's getting too hot and when computers get too hot, especially on tablets, but on on laptops as well, they tend to slow down the megahertz internally to try and cool it down. Um, so you could probably fry egg with a fan of the heat coming out the side of this laptop. So I don't know what the new laptops are like with even more cores and faster RAM and CPUs, and it must create a lot more heat than this old model does. How well they expel that heat, especially when you run it at full thing. Probably you can't. Maybe I can show you. You can see what it's sitting at the moment. Just move it over here. There you go. So I got this desktop add-on to Windows 8, so you can see how the CPUs go in there. So if I definitely need a new system, even though it's 2 gigahertz here, and it's got 8 meg RAM. It's still only using half of it at the moment, so it's not too bad at the moment. And of course, I've got these ping tests that make sure which cameras are up and which ones have gone down, and what routers are still up in the house, because this is a house of technology. My bedroom's full of old tech and bits and pieces, because I don't throw away stuff in case I can hack it and use bits from one PC to another to make a new machine, or I try and get as much use out of stuff when I buy it as possible. But the problem with a lot of the stuff coming out of China, it doesn't last too long. So I've got some various dead tablets where the RAM goes bad on them. Is the main problem that a lot of tablets have. And also the batteries, they make it so they're not swappable. And batteries and phone, as you know, tablets go wrong after about a year and a half. And they're called ion batteries, lithium ion. They're also very dangerous. If you overcharge them, they burst into flames. And they believe that it may have caused fire on many of the planes that had the batteries in the cargo hold, which is a bit of a scare thing. So they have it in sealed containers now, so they've got no air. So yeah, technology, it's all fun, and it's all changing quick and trying to keep up with it. So my mission is to replace this dying laptop with a i9, which is the latest Intel chips coming out for laptops, which gives you 6 dedicated cores. This one I've got at the moment's got 4, but it's also got 4 threads, what they call hyper-threading, which is like not full CPUs as such, but they're sort of like a GPU that sort of helps out with the mathematic processing. And you could see my one was using quite a lot of them, even well, I'm not actually doing much at the moment. It's still peaking up there. See that? It's up to 97 then, but it's using all 4 cores and 4 threads, which gives us 8 cores or pseudo cores. I'm not sure where they get cores from. I suppose it goes back to the old machine computer technology. Anyway, I suppose I should kick this off about UFOs and aliens. So I try to bring up this website called AliExpress. It's where I buy most of my Chinese goods from, and at the moment I don't have to pay GST on it. And the prices you can get are pretty good. Before AliExpress was set up, there was Alibaba or something like that. You had to buy like cargo shiploads of containers of stuff, like a minimum order of 1,000 umbrellas, even if you only wanted to buy one. So what this guy's gone and done in China is he's broken it up into like a store where they can sell one item instead of thousands of items in a purchase. So it's more for the non-shop owners. So yeah, now we can get access to all this stuff without having to use other middlemen. So yeah, as you see, the prices are pretty good. So what's happened is Sony's brought out a new CMOS sensor for cameras, and if I zoom up here, they're called Starlight Sony sensors. So what I've done is I've typed in Starlight IP camera. Now the thing with the Starlight one is they work on almost no light at all. So you don't need infrared to boost stuff. It will run off any ambient light in the outside, a bit like night vision. So you can actually, they call it starlight because you can actually see stars in the sky with this particular sensor now. And so the Chinese have started putting into IP cameras. Now, I'm not sure if you know what an IP camera is. It just means that they can be connected as a internet device, and they have their own IP address. So that's where the IP comes in. And when you connect it, and also all you need is power to them. So they run off wireless as well, although you can get various ones which don't have wireless and have cables only. The wireless ones are pretty good. They go up to uh, G and N, and some even have AC now. And of course, the newer the technology in it, the more pricey it gets, of course. And they're quite easy to set up. All you do is turn them on, and they come up with a preset address. Normally on LAN, you have an IP range of 192.168. It's like a reserved IP address that you use for LANs. That gives you like 65,000 devices off that particular LAN. And there's also one called 10.10.10 something, and you can get another 65,000 addresses. But as you know, the IP address system was based on 4 numbers, and we've got so many devices now out there that they're running out of IP addresses they can assign companies. So now they're looking at what they call is IP 6 instead of IP 4, which adds another two numbers. So since we're talking about IP addresses, so people out there probably don't know what an IP address is. IP address comes in 2 flavors. It comes in IPv4 and IPv6, which is a lot of people starting to switch over to. So at the moment, as you can see here, Google labs out your IP address. Lucky enough, I think that might be going through a nominizer at the moment through a New Zealand one, which ain't my true address. So IP address. Most people probably don't understand IP addresses. They just get their smartphone and hook it up to the Wi-Fi and not really understand what's going on. But as I was talking about IPv4, which is like the 4 digits, and now they've got IPv6, is it listed here? IP4. So it talks about these addresses that you can have, 4 numbers, 0 to 255 in them. That gives you quite a lot of combinations, and it's hard to believe it's already run out. So it gets a bit more complicated, as you know. So now IPv6 is trying to be rolled out, but a lot of old equipment still uses the old system, and people don't want to change. Looks like I'm not sure if they had IPv6 there. Didn't see it. I wasn't really going to talk about IP address, but since I brought it up, I'll just quickly cover it. IP address, IPv6. IP6 is the successor to the first address and infrastructure of the Internet Protocol version. IPv4 is contrast to IP4, which is defined. IP address is a 32-bit value. IPv addresses have a size of 128 bits, so you see it's sort of not just doubled it, but made it quite a lot more bits. Therefore, IPv6 has a vastly enlarged address space compared to IP4. You think years ago they would have made it as big as possible. Probably IPv6 is probably too small as well. They'll probably be going to IPv8 or 12 or whatever in the future. But of course, the more address bits you got, the more time it takes the computer to process it all, which is the downside. But as computer technology is getting better and faster, it won't really matter. So this saying IPv6 is faster than IPv4 at the moment in current technology. Unicast IPv6 is slower than IP4 for 51% of the time. So what are they trying to say here? Does it sort of make sense? More than 10 milliseconds faster. I'm not too sure what they mean by that. For that statement. It's sometimes faster and sometimes slower, I guess what they're saying. Anyway, so in the camera, if we type in IP camera, you normally would access the IP camera and set it up with a command interface, like what they're showing here. Where's a good one? It's the same way you access your router anyway. Options on it. Wireless security cameras. See if I can zoom in on it. So basically, in your browser, basically you use your laptop or PC, and you open up an internet browser, and you type in the address of the router, which was quite blurry here, but looks like it's set up as 192.168.108 here. Although you probably can't see it, it's even blurry to me. So you'd just type in HTTP S for secure line / and that number, and it would bring up this panel where you can configure all the options in the camera, but also you can actually then receive the images from the camera from the IP address via all sorts of software, and display it or record it and whatnot. But a lot of these new cameras, of course, come with memory cards now, which is really good, and they store up to 128 gigabytes of video onto an internal card, and you can access it via your smartphone and tell it to download any motion detected video. So it won't actually, you could have it set up to record all the time, but most people have it set up to only record when it detects movement. And that way it doesn't fill up the card very fast. And once the card gets full, basically it starts purging the older stuff before it can write new stuff. So it's like a circular buffer of information, or circular drive. So it takes care of all that for you, and you can just download any video that's still on there, which can be a couple of days worth or even up to a week, depending on how big the card is, which is quite good. They use MP4, and the quality is up to now up to greater than 1080p even. Most of them come up to 720 standard now, and multiple CPUs in them as well, like 4 cores or 2 cores. So that's how you would configure the camera, and I think maybe I've got a better screen here, accessing your camera. So this one's actually got a full, so here's what I'm talking about, this HTTPS at the top here. You simply open up your browser, because your PC's on the back of the same switch in the house, or the same Wi-Fi connection, and so everything's on a what they call a local area network. So you just type in that address of the camera. Hopefully your network, your LAN's using the same 192.168 generally it is, and it will choose hopefully a IP address that doesn't conflict with allocated ones from your router. But normally it's set to ask the router for a free number, so it doesn't cause a conflict. It's normally how you set it up. You don't hard code the numbers now, so it just asks the router for the number, and this one was assigned the 92, and you just type that in there, and it's on port 81100, and it just loads up like a web page, and you just select all the different options, and it's got ones here, wireless setup, and it's got some other cool stuff, so it can actually upload the images to a full FTP server as well, and it can also share on peer-to-peer, believe it or not. You can have it set up to do peer-to-peer. You can have up to 4 to 12 users, depending on how expensive the camera is, to access it and view it. So what I'm hoping to do some stage, but my first priority is to replace the laptop, is to get one of these cameras and give them a test out and have it sky watching, and I could watch it here and stream it at the same time, and we could watch the planes or see if anything else is floating up in the sky there, especially if it can see Starlight. So it's quite exciting technology, and it's affordable. It's in the affordable range of $200 or less for typical cameras. You can get the real cheap ones from $30 or less now, which don't do more than 1080p, because all the older ones get cheaper and cheaper, of course, as better tech comes out. So probably enough on that. So let's have a look at some of the camera specs. I've got some other tabs queued here, and I'm going to talk about. So if you go to AliExpress and type in Starlight IP camera, it will list on those search terms. So now these are all the ones it's found, and you need to go through the list because it's not perfect search, of course, and it's come up with ones with Starlight. So I don't like these ones which are like static, what they call the bullet ones. I like the ones that come with a dome, like these ones down here. So that one here is 323 US, and it's still only 2 megapixels. A lot of the new ones for that price are coming out at 3 or 4 megapixels, but the good thing on this one here is it's 25 times zoom, optical zoom on it. So what is 2 megapixels? That's something else I probably have to explain, how to choose the right camera. So as you know, 1080p is number of dots that go vertical. So up the page here is 180 dots, 180 pixels. So, but the P here stands for progress, not interlace. Interlace was the old system. It used to have a 1080i. It uses odd and even lines, and it flickers on the screen, so you see the odd lines first and then the even lines. And it's a good way to reduce the bandwidth and processing power of the CPU. It was used in transmission via radio, from the analog TVs, but we don't use it anymore because we've gone into this progressive one, which basically draws lines one by one going downwards. So it starts at 0 at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 180 down the bottom here on the thing. But we don't see it because it's updated this generally 30 frames a second. Our eyes are not good enough to actually see these individual screens of that mouse being changed on the screen here. So what's 1080p and 2 megapixels? So 2 megapixels is the number of dots. So we've got horizontal going across. So normally 1080p is 1280. No, it's higher than that. 1280 is 720. So 1080, what is it, times? Looks like it's going to be 2060, is it? Oh no, 1920 seems to ring a bell. So if you multiply 1080 by 1920, that gets you 2 megapixels, or 2 million. I suppose that's what it works out. We need a calculator. Let's press enter on that, see if it gives it to us. Oh, here we go. So there's your 2 million pixels. So that's where your 2 megapixels comes in. It's the width of the screen multiplied by the downward number of pixels downward. I've lost it, cleared it, did it? When I clicked on it. But you saw it was there. And of course, 1280, which is what I use on my thumbnails a lot, as you've seen on the editor, should be 1 megapixel, I think it is. There you go. Not quite 1 million. It's just below it, 921. So that's how you work out your megapixels. Now, if it's 4 megapixels, you can imagine that's going to be quite a number of pixels. So it's going to be like 4,000 times, let's see, 2016, something like that. And then now you got 20 megapixel on phone cameras, but the sensors on them don't use this new Starlight, which is more expensive. So yeah, 20 megapixels is an amazing number of pixels across and down, but unfortunately we don't have that available yet. I think the latest ones for the Starlight ones is about 4 megapixels at the moment, and you can see they get quite pricey, or up to $1,1200 for the highest ones. So I was looking at buying one of these cameras to test out, and the thing is I don't really want to put it on the house, and none of them are designed to be looking upwards. But what if you stuck one of these dome ones which spin around 360 degrees around this way and spin 90 degrees from there to there? So that gives you probably a good full movement that you could use if you turn it upside down and stick it on like a pole and raise it up in the backyard and put it in a tripod, or I don't know, bury it or something. Then you could have it sitting there and have it running off a battery pack. You could get quite good battery packs to run 12 volts because it uses 2 amps, most of them, which could you could run it for a night session and then take it back down so it doesn't get destroyed. But these ones here are meant to be weatherproof. They come up with setting values. So if we click on that one, it's got anti-vandalism set values, and it's also got weatherproofing values, which I found out was called IP66, I think it was. Not to get confused with IP as an IP address. What's this one stand for? Let's just bring it up. So most of them start off IP65 if they're outside cameras. Indoor cameras don't have these ratings, though. Yeah, you can get dash cams. They're all quite affordable for cars. You don't really need high quality for car, obviously, but it'd be good to get a Starlight one for the car, because you never know what you're going to catch while you're driving. You might catch some amazing, like meteorite coming down at night time, and one of those cameras would be fantastic. Or even a UFO, yes. So here you go. They talk about what IP means on the camera protection, ingress protection. So it's nothing to do with the internet. So IP gets used quite a bit as a abbreviation. First digital solids and second digit liquids. So there you go. So what it means is it's 65 is pretty much dust proof. The dust won't get in, and the second digit tells it how waterproof it is. Like you can fire a jet of water from your hose from the house, and it won't penetrate the camera, which is what you want. Whether it could withstand hailstones is another thing. But there's also other ones. But most of these cameras are IP66, which is good. So it tells you here on the chart here, protected from high pressure water jets from any direction, limited ingress protection. So 67, there's a few cameras that have that, and 68, a few cameras have that protected for long-term immersion up to specific pressure, limited ingress protection. So basically, it can be submerged. 68 and 69K. I haven't seen any with that, but might be underwater cameras. Protected from jet stream cleaning, limited ingress protection. So that's talking about really high powered water, I guess, rather than normal hose pipe. So yeah, it takes a bit while to understand all these things. But if we go into one of these here and have a look at all the specs, you can see it's not too pricey. And these ones have got Starlight. Is that the one? It says normally in the heading 720p, 1080p. PoE. Now, we don't use PoE in New Zealand, so we wouldn't use that. But in America, they have cable boxes which use PoE. We use PoA, which is point over ATM, and this PoE means point over Ethernet, I think. I'd have to look it up. I'm not too sure what P stands for now. I used to know all that, but you forget it because I'm retooling for video making and all the other stuff, so I forget a lot of the computer terminology that I used to know. And you can see here night vision full color. So this one's got full color night vision. So what they're doing now, they're playing around with filters. So nighttime it actually looks like daytime, which is pretty cool for $40 here. Just to muck around at home perhaps and see if you can sky watch. But I would want something a lot better than this. I want something that's got zoom on it as well. But that all costs extra money. Where you can change the zoom, basically changes the lens inside. You can probably see there it's got a lens in the camera. So yeah, it'd be great for sky watching, I think, as well as home security. But you'd have to test it out. So we might have some pictures down here. Let's have a look. Some of them produce sample photographs from it, so you can see what the color night vision looks like. So this is sort of an image you get at nighttime, where you can actually, instead of it being normal, boring black and white, you can see it's got vibrant colors, and also it's picking up even the dimmest light from cars off in the distance here. You can see that the camera was the sensor that Sony has developed here is pretty damn good. Now we looked at a similar camera a few streams back called the X27. So I just wonder if they started copying what the Americans research were doing, and they're knocking it out like 1/100th the price than what you can get from R&D in America. So I post that link there to the side if you want to have a look at that one. That one sounds like a really good one to start with and have a play with, and then upgrade to one of the other cameras and see how useful it is. Doesn't look like it's too big. It fits in the hand by the looks of it. The thing is, finding a long enough pole to put it up on. You know, you want to get above the house roof, and the house roof in New Zealand is about 4.5 meters, which don't sound much, but you try and buy a pole that long. If you get a cleaning brush that goes 5 meters from our warehouse place down here, they want $82 for it. 82, and it's more than the camera. So that would be ideal, because you could probably duct tape it on, or make a proper clamp and all that, and just lift it up and put it in a corner of where the LV shape of the guttering goes in the house, and just anchor it there above the skyline, and you could actually then look at all the planes coming in and look at the stars and have a good play with it. So yeah, finding a camera where you can actually use it for both the star watching and use it as a normal security would be even better. So I looked at some other cameras. Obviously, you can spend hours and hours just looking through them all and not buy anything because they're too expensive, or you're just not sure which one to try. We've got no way to try before you buy. So I'll just paste that one there. I'll take you straight to that one. So what you need to look for these low, is that working? It's complaining about the link. Why? That's too long. Why'd they make it so long? Has it got a short copy link? That's annoying. I don't know if that's got a short copy link. Recommend to others. Might be there, but it's got a lot of fine writing. Hasn't got like a share button, has it? Unless it's one of these. I think that's for logging in. Yeah, I don't know how I can give it to you. I suppose you could just look through how I've done it there, I guess. Unless I might have to delete that line then. Let's have a look. Maybe I can shorten the link somehow. Look how long the line is. That's just crazy. Let's do it for search engines for Google. but it keeps on going. So maybe it can go from there. I don't know. That is pretty long. Looks like it's really from there to there. Let's see if that works. Of course, a lot of New Zealand stores don't like AliExpress. As you know, that they put like 100% at least markup on stuff they get in. I bet if you looked for a local supplier of this camera, it would be like $200 New Zealand. But here we get free shipping to New Zealand, and it's only going to cost us probably $60 New Zealand, which is affordable. And you can see that the quality from it was pretty amazing. But yeah, so see if that link works anyway. I'll just go back to the list here. So they got a lot of other ones here. Here's another one for 4 megapixels. So that's like 4,000 times 2,000 down, and it uses H.265 compression. So that means it can do 4K, I suppose. 4,000. I suppose that's what they call 4K. So it's a 4K one for $85. So let's have a look at that one. Like I said, you can spend ages going over it and think, oh, that's a good one. And then you look at the next one, you think, oh, I wouldn't mind that one. That's a bit better. But you can see here it's got two wires that come out. One is power and one is reset button. But some of them actually have the Ethernet, the PoE one for American. But these ones, which I forgot to look, none of them actually have Wi-Fi, I don't think. This is a PoE one too. So I forgot to check that. I think when you add Wi-Fi on, it gets a bit more expensive. But what's good on the cameras here is it can you set up an email account with it, and it can every time it detects motion, it emails the photograph to your Gmail, and that means even if the camera gets stolen or destroyed by the burglar or alien, in this case, the photo's already gone to the cloud, which is a damn good idea to use it for UFO research. I didn't see there it had wireless listed to the list. So even though that camera would be good, it lacks what we want. So that's another thing, is to go to the original search and find one where you don't need to use cable to the back of your router. So I normally put Wi-Fi in here. Of course, it'll narrow down it even more. Look it right. So here we go. We're finally getting the ones that got Wi-Fi. You can see it's cut down the selection a hell of a lot. So this is the one I was looking at here with the 20 times zoom. You can get one of these ones. If you could set it up on the roof of your house, up near your TV antenna. It has 360 view in any direction and 90 degrees down, and also 20 times zoom. And it's only going to cost you $209 US, which is quite more pricey than the $40 one we're looking at, which didn't have Wi-Fi. So really, you just got to check out all the specs. You think, oh yeah, that's a good one, and then you realize it hasn't got Wi-Fi. So if we now look at this list in here, it should have luminosity 0001. So that's almost no light at all. Starlight, that's where the Starlight stuff comes in. Full 1080p, because a lot of them use pseudo 1080p. It has extra LEDs on it, 2 white ones, so it can actually, if it's too dark, it can actually turn on 2 white LEDs and try and highlight someone in the daytime even. And it's also got nighttime ones with 6 normal infrared LEDs, which illuminates people up to about 20 meters away, I think. Oh, here it says 80 meters, this one. So they're quite good. But when it gets, but it depends what setting you want. You know, you want to set it so it's not the black and white one, which is what we're used to, but the night vision, the color one. Look at how much color you can see there. You can almost see the green of the trees there as well. It's not perfect, but I think that might be great for sky watching, full color night vision. We might actually catch some decent UFOs finally with this kind of tech. It's also got voice, so you can actually hear if it's what's being recorded outside. So that's quite handy. So if you had that set up on your house and you're being abducted, you probably could record all the sound, see when it goes wrong. So see if you hear a noise before it goes wrong. So yeah, and you can see here he zooms in. So that's a zoom from a high-rise building down to a fountain there. The quality is just amazing, but it is expensive. So I was tossing up to get something like this. As you can see, it's IP6 as well, although it seems to move upwards and downwards. I wonder how far upwards it goes. See, if I mounted that up the top of the antenna on the roof or had it on a pole, I'd have it that way. I wonder if this lens can go upwards a bit, so you can look into the sky. So if you could tilt that up, or does it go from there all the way down, looking straight down? I don't know. See, unless we saw a demo of it rotating, we're not sure the capabilities it's got of going upwards opposed to downwards. Obviously, it's looking downwards here. So you can spend all the money. See, it's got arrows here saying it goes upwards, but does it? You know what I mean? 90 degrees. That's not 90 degrees. That's going from there to there would be 180 degrees. Correct? Yeah, so it's like half a circle, so it's 180 degrees. So I don't think it's 0 to 90 that way and 0 to 90 that way. Well, it might be, but the specs doesn't say that though. So could you also mount it upwards? I see here they got it on the side, which is not so good because if it only goes from there to there, there's no way we could follow a plane 360 if we want to track an object in the sky. But upside down, it would work. But would it be waterproof then? I suppose if you had it on a pole and had it temporary, it wouldn't really matter. But it does look kind of cool though, doesn't it? And it's got a 120 gig card you can put into it. As you can see, it's sort of tamper-proof. You'd have to pull the whole thing apart, unscrew it to get to the card. So you order it and you say what size card you want it to start with. So I can see how useful this would be in alien abduction cases. Imagine having that in the bedroom 20 times soon. So you don't. The only thing you need is power because it's got wireless. Yeah, you control it through your smartphone or a laptop or whatever, as they're doing here. And it can actually send an email alert to your phone with the photograph. For $200, it's probably worth buying one and have a play with it. But I like this idea of looking at stars and full color. So it looks like the company might be a trustworthy Chinese company. So where were we? So there was another one here which runs totally off solar panels, which is also another good one. So we click on that one. But as you can see, it's what they call a bullet type one, and you just stick a couple of these hooked up into your corner of your bedroom, and just instead of using a solar panel to keep it fully charged all the time, just plug in a couple of just normal power adapter. I think it's like 12 volts. You can get 12-volt battery pack for it, and simply it just clips into the stand. You can have it screwed on the wall, and it's also Starlight. So, and it's 1080p, and with solar cell, it's only well, if you click on the options here, you got camera times solar panel, and often they give you a bit more options, like memory card size. Not sure if this one has a memory card built in. Might be a set size, has it? What's that got? It's got a card slot, micro card slot, reset, daylight sensor, microphone. It looks pretty neat, and it runs entirely off battery, so you don't have any cables at all, and it's Wi-Fi. So the question is, can you get it? Because now in New Zealand they've got a ban on the size of internal batteries and things. Now you have to pay quite a lot of freight to get it to New Zealand now because of the craziness with the post delivery services won't courier it in case it bursts into flames, which never happens as far as I know. I've not the amount of devices I've got in my house, none of them have burst into flames. I've had a few power supplies explode, even inside PCs explode, which was a bit scary. Or it was plugged into the wall and the computer was turned off. But the switch mode power supply in it started sparking and flames coming out the back. So they do catch fire, same as TVs used to do that as well. So that's another interesting one there. But you can find different suppliers. I think you can get it cheaper than that too. 142, I think I've seen it. So don't always go for the first supplier of it. Some of them don't sell it with the solar cell, so they're about $90. Let's see, I think there was one that sells it without the solar cells. That's a bit dearer, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it for about 180. You just have to look around on the site. So there you go, it's a bit cheaper without the solar cell. Let's see if they got some pictures so we can see the quality. Some of them do, some of them don't. They've got questions and answers, and they give us a rundown of the specs here. So I wouldn't mind one of those to play with as well. If I had lots of money, this is the sort of stuff I'd be buying and trying it out, sky watching. But also, if I was working for MUFON, I'd get a couple of these and try them out. So you could set it up to their house Wi-Fi. But the problem is you need to set up your own router and piggyback off theirs, so you don't have to configure it each time. And it sort of stops them having passwords to things. So you know it's tamper-free. So here it is, it's got a built-in 64 gigabytes, so that's why it's quite pricey, because it's got a big memory card in it, so that's pretty good. Battery Has 4 batteries in it, which can last 6 months. They say here, is it? Ordinary life. So yeah, time you go through all the specs and read it. The sensor, which is important, you want the Starlight one, where it just can look at stars as well. Most cameras that we use on smartphones can't do that. You go and photograph the night sky, you can't see stars, or the moon's pretty bad too. So that's all the bits and pieces. Does it, what comes with it? Yep. Sometimes they have optional bits as well. And it's waterproof. So they've got some sample photographs here. So this is daytime on the left, and that's the same location at nighttime. Now, if you look, you probably can start to see some lights, stars in the background on that one. So it's 2 megapixels, which is 1080p, as we talked about earlier. And here's some daytime photographs. Looks pretty crisp there. And even 720p looks pretty good. Not as slightly blurrier around the edges compared to the 1080. And you can see how big it is. It's not very big at all. Fits in your hand. You can screw it onto trees. So that would probably, if you want a fixed location for sky watching, that would be alright, I guess, to give it a try. But again, I think you need one with optical zoom on it, and you want one that you can rotate around, control with your smartphone. So this one spins around 360. So that means you could track anything in the sky. And look at this one here. Now you've got ones disguised inside light bulbs or LED bulb, which I thought was a clever idea. If you wanted to try and catch some aliens out entering your house, $71 for a hidden camera that just screws in and runs off the power straight away off the socket that you screw in. And it acts as an LED light. But it gives you a lens, but it doesn't sort of rotate. It sort of takes a still downwards all the time. So if you put that in the middle of your bedroom, I wonder if you'd better catch people being abducted. I don't know. Be something worth try out anyway. Did it say it was Starlight? I don't think it is that one. Oh, it says it's Starlight. So that one works on very low light as well. So that's not too bad. That's pretty clever. 360 view. So it uses like a fisheye, I guess. Bends the very edges. But yeah, that's sort of bit. If you have it up high enough, if you've got a high enough roof, that would be ideal, and then you can access it on your phone here. So you can't zoom in more. Oh, there you go. You can see it's kind of fisheye, but it certainly would catch out burglars on that one, wouldn't it? It's like those shop mirror balls, I guess. Effect. I suppose there's a way to unbend it so it's sort of a normal image again. So what was the options? I guess There's the options. Does it email? I'm not sure if it does. 360 viewing angle. Wireless G. 5 megapixels. Wow. So that's a pretty big fisheye image. Alarm photo FTP. So does that mean it sends the photo to your email or sends it to the FTP server photo? I guess it means FTP because normally they have the word email also there. So basically, FTP means it can upload to like a media box that you set up on your LAN as well, and it just simply puts the photo up on the media box. Or you could actually access the external one, I guess, via the internet as well. So that's another option that you could use to try and capture aliens out, I guess. Here's another one further down. Oops, what's happened? Clicked on something. The string seems to be going all right at the moment. My CPU's reaching about 100 at the moment, though. So what's this one here? 209, similar to the other one we're looking at, but I don't think it's got optical zoom. Oh yeah, that one's got 20 times zoom as well. Looks very similar to the other one, but it hasn't got the extra lights around the side of it for extra options. So it's not as good as the other camera. Like I said, you're never able to choose because you keep going through all this stuff. And so here's another one, $150. Almost looks like a flying saucer itself, doesn't it? And so we got 3 people watching. Who's out there still? Jamal, I think you're still there. Haven't bored you. Haven't gone to sleep. So we got this IP6 one, which is waterproof. So that one you could turn upside down, I guess, and put it on a post and use it for sky watching, as well as security. I just think in the next year or two is going to be even better. I wonder if they ever get up to like 100 times soon. Imagine that. I think we're in exciting times ahead here. So this kind of technology that we're getting here, and these devices will be in smartphones, where you have 20 times the Starlight sensor on it. The photographs are going to be fantastic. So there's one for $150. So, and it's Wi-Fi. That's a bit more pricey than the $80 one that didn't have Wi-Fi in it. Which was that link I posted. I don't think that one had Wi-Fi in it. I don't know if I can cut and paste it, or try. That one's more in the affordable range now, you see. So that would be about, I guess, $200 New Zealand time you ordered it, which is affordable. But there's a lot of money to play around with, I guess, unless you got it to burn. There was a time when the exchange rate in American dollars was so good that that 150 would be like a $80 our money, so it was like almost half, and that was only like 6 years ago. Now it's gone the opposite way. When Obama got in, it all changed. It went up and up and up. So we could keep going through all these, but we won't go through all of them. So the next thing was, I said to Earl, is it possible to put a camera out in the car across the street and video the house without the people knowing, to see if you see anything strange that happens? And he said that's possible. So I started looking at cameras that got don't need to use Wi-Fi but use 4G, and there are ones with Starlight with 4G. Did I post it here? I think I did somewhere. That's the next subject about Faraday cages. So yeah, so I was talking about the car and how you could disguise the camera in the car. And you could buy these sun shields with patterns on it. Here you go, $4. And you could attach the camera inside the cover here. And inside, I wish I could have that open like that while I point to it, but it's not going to let me. But up the top here, you could open the window a wee bit and have the camera lens looking out through a little hole, and just duct tape it and hide it with duct tape on the other side, and the person wouldn't know it was there. And just run it off the car battery. As long as the UFO didn't mess around with the car battery, you're pretty good. But that would give you some extra evidence, wouldn't it? If all the cameras in the house switch off at the same time as the one outside in the car, that sort of gives you evidence that something strange is going on, and it's not the person tampering because it's in a locked car. They wouldn't have access to your locked car. And this is also, you can get ones without patterns on. I think that was the next one. Here's one where you can just get black. You can make the car all black, all the windows black, so you can't really see the other side. But you could, you want to put a little gap at the top, wind the window down a bit, and put a hole in where the camera goes, because when you film at night time, the IP cameras at night time they reflect light back off the glass that you're filming through, and it messes up the image, and you can't do it very well. So you really need to be like an outside camera where the lens is totally free, and you could do that with a pinhole or whatever, and aim it at the house, look above the house. But you also could set up a second camera with meters and record what's going on with EMF radiation, see if it fluctuates. And you could also look at background radiation, see if it increases. So if there's a cloaked UFO above the house and your meters go crazy, you know there's something there. And if it happens at the time the people say the abduction happened and all the cameras switched off. So yeah, I'd love to be doing this sort of technology with Earl and MUFON, and to see if we can actually capture the evidence of actual abduction taking place. So I've sent all this information to Earl as well, and he's gonna. And I found this camera here for only $30, depending on the size of the memory card. As you can see, it can go up to $100, depending on the size of the memory card. Let's see what the options are. 128 gig memory card, that's pretty cool. Doesn't say it's Starlight though, but for the price you can't complain. And it's like a mini one, car surveillance. And the magic thing here is it's 4G. It's not 4G and Wi-Fi, so it means you can put a 4G SIM card on it, and you could access it anywhere in the world, as long as you got a cell phone. And you could also get a couple of these for the bedroom also. They might be good enough just to test out, even though they're not low light, but they're pretty good still, I think. Let's have a look. What illumination? Reading. So it's 01 instead of 0001. It still needs some infrared light by the looks of it. But they might be good to try out for that sort of money for car surveillance. See, we've got one 4G. I suppose that's the most expensive, $100. 1080p 4G. So they've got different options here. 96p is pretty good too, and 420p. So the cheapest is 76 US there for 4G one. I wonder if it comes with Wi-Fi as well. If you choose the 3G one, it doesn't sort of say, does it? Is it one or the other? So that's the thing. You have to ask the supplier whether it's just 4G only. But America, they've got decent 4G now. So I think in California, if you're doing an abduction case, I think one of these you'd have to get. You can see it's got a lot of IRD illumination lights here. So it's not Starlight because Starlight cameras don't need the extra lights around the outside to shine infrared at the person. Hey, you're back with us, Mr. Walker, is it? How's it going? Yeah, last night's stream didn't work very well. The computer was playing up. Tonight, so far, touch wood, it's going all right. And I'm talking about more where I started off yesterday about IP cameras and how to use it for sky watching and abduction cases. Because I'm talking with a guy from MUFON that does investigations. And I said, have you tried this? Have you tried that? No, 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 no. So I said, what you need is me there helping you build the stuff to be able to do experiments and see if we can catch these aliens. Because I dabble around with solder and iron stuff and build stuff. Yeah. So we're just going through all the latest cameras, how we would do an investigation, and the sort of gear that they would have to buy. And one of these cameras here with the 4G sounds like a brilliant idea for hiding across the street somewhere, like in a car, or strap it to a tree somewhere up high that no one knows about, or maybe in someone's house on the opposite side, so you can actually watch the person being that claims to be abducted to see anything happens. So yeah, I think it's possible, but you want to get it as cheap as possible. It's still quite pricey there to be stolen, isn't it? So really, you'd want two cameras so they sort of look at each other, which is what I was talking about at the end of last stream last night, where you put them in the corners of each of the room. You set them up so the person doesn't have to turn them on, and they automatically take photographs and upload it to your email. I'm not sure if this one has it though. It's a mini camera, so it's very small. Oh yeah, this one's got alarm action here. So this one sends the email over 4G, the photograph it takes. So that would be ideal. Anything that's sort of detecting as motion. And it also is recording to a 28 gigabyte internal card, I think it was. Here it is. It says it's got support, so it doesn't come with one, not included. So you have to buy one. So that means you could be recording video all the time, and when it detects motion, it also sends snapshots of the email via the email to Gmail or something like that. And you could run it off a car battery, off a cigarette adapter, 12 volts. So yeah, I think it's good technology that's coming out now. So that was about putting it in a car. So these are the type of meters I was talking about. You also want to have a third camera in the bedroom, uh, probably recording background radiation. And you can see you could get here one that's got a Geiger Muller tube in it, which is a special tube of radioactive gas. So when radiation, like gamma rays, beta rays, I think it is, what's the other one, alpha, passes through the gas, it creates a number on the screen. Have we got a sample? And normally I'll click over background radiation. I almost thought about getting one of these to have a play with as well. Again, it all comes down to money, how much you can afford. $53 is not too bad. And it uses a GM tube. And it's got a USB here, and it runs off normal batteries. So you could modify that if it didn't run off USB power. It probably does. It runs off USB power probably. You could have that set up for charger and have the camera always monitoring it and see if the background radiation changes in the room when the person gets abducted. So that'd be more evidence. But also you want an EMF meter. So if you type in EMF, you want a good one that can go up to 3 gigahertz range, which is Wi-Fi signal on our mobile, what do you call it, mobile phone, cell tower frequencies. I suppose that would be all around us. And they only cost like $17, but you'd have to look at the specs. This one here that fits in your hand has also got temperature gauge, which is quite handy. You want to see if the temperature changes. Whether you can run it off a USB, I don't know, but you can see you can get all sorts of ones here that probably can, and they're sort of in their price range, $15 to $30. So you want to record the EMF, see if the EMF changes. It's what they use for ghost hunting, but not all of them are equal. You want one that sort of goes to a high range and has a good display so you can actually see it on camera. We only got one upvote on the episode so far. Where's all the people watching? Why they're not upvoting? They've been watching quite a long time now. Yeah. That's a 9 volts. It talks about radiation, but that's not like background radiation. That's talking about electromagnetic radiation. So that's why you need 2 meters, because I don't think one comes with both EMF and radiation, gamma radiation and all that detection, all in one unit. So that one looks kind of cheap and nasty one. But it might be alright to experiment with. So this one goes up to 2 gigahertz, just below Wi-Fi. So the range is not too bad. 50 megahertz. A lot of the other ones start at 10 or 20 megahertz. Has slightly greater range and can go up even higher. So you got to look at the specs before you buy. So yeah, I kind of like the yellow looking ones, but there's quite a few that you can select from there and have a look. $16 one here. What does that one have? Looks kind of cool, doesn't it? That sort of looks a nice color. I like that color. easy to read display on it. They call it a dosimeter, meter counter handheld. Electrofield radiation. What's happened? Trying to scroll down. So this one only goes up to 300 hertz. You see, compared to the other one that looked even less trash, it looked more trashy. This one's got a limited test bandwidth. What's test bandwidth mean? Does it mean it's normal bandwidth? I think that's probably what I mean. So that doesn't go up to gigahertz range, only goes up to hertz. But that's pretty damn low. But maybe that's good enough, you know. I don't know. Let's have a look at some of the other ones. Have a look at that one, $17. Of course, they use them for ghost hunting on these ghost shows. So that's got a good display. 9-volt battery not included. Test bandwidth. So that one starts at 5 hertz and goes up to 3.5 megahertz, which is 3.5 or 3 gigahertz. So that one's good. That one's really good. That's got the whole range covered there. And that's only $17. But you want one that sort of had USB as well, so you could actually record the data to a computer or something like that, have it real time. I guess they're out there. They're going to be more expensive, like $50 probably. You'd have to spend hours looking through all of them. So that would probably be a good one to experiment with. Microwave, leakage, computers, hair dryers, in the car. So that's the sort of thing you want to record. So it's got one of these horrible, expensive batteries in it. To me, I would modify that to make a 9-volt adapter as well, so you could just plug it in, have it live all the time. Or modify it so you could actually use a less expensive battery option. But you can get rechargeable ones, which are not so good. They don't last as long. So that's the meters probably covered for me. We'll tie it all together soon. I want to talk about Faraday cages probably next. So these are the ghost hunting ones that you see down here. They're quite expensive. $25, and they're not as good. They look a bit more fancy with the color LEDs on. And what was the range on these ones? So this one's not too bad. So that's megahertz. No, I have recalculated. 30 hertz to so another 1,000 kilohertz. So it doesn't even get up to megahertz range, if I'm reading that right. 0.2 of a megahertz. You want to go higher than that, so that's what they're detecting on for ghosts, is it? So what's the maximum reading on here? Milligauss, as they call it. 20 plus. So you've got frequency and you also got amount of energy being put out. I guess you'd have to play around with it to see what's best for UFO hunters as well as ghost hunting, I guess. For me, I would like to have maximum range where you've got control over the range as well as the milligauss range. So there's probably all sorts of high-powered scopes here that you can hook up to computer if we can find them, but I'm not going to spend my time looking. And we finished with that one. So yeah, so what do you guys think on the Starlight cameras? Would you get one? Have a play around with? Sort of puts it in our range. Before I talked about the X27 color night vision that these new cameras also have in, but I don't think it's the same quality. If I go to my episode I made, let's see if I can find it. I'm not sure if you guys have watched it or not. I'll just get a drink. So that's the current string going now. That was last night's. So there was one here where I talked about the cameras going back a few live streams now. Sound control and EMF meters and radiation back on that live. Which one is it? 28. And also the cloaking technology and better camera lenses. So that would be the next thing, is replace the glass lenses with these new titanium lenses, which they call meta lenses or meta materials. So that was on string 25, was it? You can find it in the list anyway, as 24. So that one's worth having a look at. So I think when they start implementing that technology into these security cameras, we'll have even better clarity to the pictures as well, especially on optical zoom. Oh, here it is here, this one here. I'll just open it up. It was a clip from one of the lives we did, showing this is actually a picture of nighttime using this new color night vision, as they call it. I don't think it's as good as the Chinese ones are using. It's even more superior, and it's a trademark, but their cameras are costing handheld, of course, and not remote controlled, and cost a couple of grand. But you wouldn't know that was nighttime. You can see the stars as well if you look closely. I'll post that link there so you can watch this. That's when I was talking about it. So this is car headlights coming towards. It's quite interesting. If you had that kind of technology, I think there'd be no question what we're seeing in the night skies. So they need to roll it out on more smartphones. That's just amazing. And they can show a laser. See, you can see laser pointers going to the stars. You can see the stars in the sky. But So it's a lot better than the Chinese color night vision, the Starlight ones we've been talking about all night. But at least these ones are affordable and easy to get. So I'll just post that link there if you've not watched it. Go and check it out. It looked better on your screen than through it will through mine on here, showing it. So good night. Okay, who's that going? Is it Jamal? Got work tomorrow. Yep. Okay, mate. 11:36 already. I can talk for hours, can't I? It's good having you join us. That you enjoy what I do. Okay. See you later. Then see you next Sunday. Is it, Jamal? Good night. I tried to start a wee bit earlier than normal, which I have managed to do, but I had to take the dog out for a walk first, else I never get any peace. So yeah, so that's all the cameras that I'm going to talk about. 4G, Wi-Fi, ones that only have cable, so you can hook it up to your local area network via the back of the switches, which are not so good. I like Wi-Fi, so you can have that flexibility to make them portable. But at least if it's cable, the Wi-Fi ones do come with cable as well, which is double bonus, but they cost more money, of course. So these are just want to search and have a look. Make sure it's Starlight IP camera and Wi-Fi or 4G or 3G. See what you can find. I think there's going to be a few more added in time over the next year or two. So this was another one I was looking at that may have just come out today, but I don't think it's Wi-Fi, but it's got amazing zoom on it. Where is it? You can spin it 360 degrees, 36 times zoom, 5 megapixel, and it's not too expensive, $241. But I don't think it's got Wi-Fi in it. Let's have a look. Hasn't got the. Oh, it's got Starlight. I'm not sure if they got the reading right there. I think it's 0.001, not 01. I think 01 is the less sensitive versions. Trying to wrap my head around it. So it's only got RG 4500 megabit ether slots. I don't see it's got wireless G, so it hasn't got wireless G. So that's the downside of it. What a bummer! It needs a little antenna on it. But you can see the quality of it was just amazing. Look, there's the car in that photograph from that distance there. And at night time, it looks like it's color nighttime too. Look at that. It's not the usual horrible black and white. You get the full color coming through at night time as well from ambient light and other sources. So yeah, and there's another evening shot. Looks pretty clear. That's just amazing. And you can control it, rotate it from your laptop or phone or tablet. But unfortunately, it has to be wired to your house router with the Wi-Fi on it, where your your smartphone connects to be able to control it via the cable. So you really want one that's got Wi-Fi added in it too, but it didn't come up in the searches. It doesn't give an option. So yeah, if you don't see a little antenna sticking out on it, or two antennas, you know it's not going to be 3G or Wi-Fi straight away. But it looks pretty cool. I like that design. But I want to know if it can actually look up towards the sky rather than downwards from 0 degrees straight down. So you can mount it at the top of the roof of the house and actually sky watch with it. Because you want it to look slightly upwards. And it's affordable. It's not too bad, but it's not Wi-Fi, which is a bit of a bummer. I like the 36 times zoom on it. And this is the one with the Wi-Fi that I seem to like, slightly cheaper. And it's only got 20 times zoom. Looks almost identical to that other one. I think it's just going to get better and better. And it's got full color night vision as well. So it's going to be like the other one. But this one's got wireless. For that price, it probably got AC, wireless AC as well. Let's see, where's the network? Where was it now? IP camera, dome camera, waterproof, 0001 lux, which is pretty damn good. And you can see stars with that. Where's the wireless? 12 volts. Where's the network settings? Can't see it. So it's got two-way audio. It comes with a little speaker. Metal case, which is pretty good. Not plastic. It's got cable, 100 megabits. Where's the wireless band? They haven't got it listed on that chart. Where can I see it? It's got peer-to-peer. That's why you got to check out all the settings. Most of them have wireless G though. It comes with all that. Here it is. Might have them here. Starlight low luminosity, almost 0 lux. Well, 0001. Network one to find. Wireless security 2 gigahertz. Oh, here we go. This one's got wireless in, but some of them even go up to AC, which is the latest out there. Conspiracy. What do you know? YouTube Conspiracy TV. All right, so it's good for you joining us here. Conspiracy TV. Yeah, we're sort of looking at the new tech coming out on cameras. So I kind of like that one, but I need to look at a laptop first before I start putting one of those outside, and we could watch the planes coming in to land at the local airport at night time and see what they look like on these cameras. It would be really cool, but stay tuned. It'll be a project in the future. So I wanted to talk about Faraday cages, and I found some interesting videos online talking about how to the downside and what not to do. I hate how it auto plays. So Faraday cages, like this guy's got in the video, it's got a fine mesh. So it's got like a all around. It's got no holes in the mesh. It's all sealed, and And that one we'll probably see if I can listen to it. It's well worth listening to that one. So here is some mathematics. As you know, wave travels in a sine wave, and apparently the holes uh, work about the frequency of the wave where it absorbs it. And you know, the microwave door has a certain hole size, which microwave work at two gigahertz, same as Wi-Fi for your internet does, and your cell network for your mobile phones also uses that frequency. And when you've got a microwave going, it interferes with that radio band, because some microwave, or pretty much all microwaves, leak a wee bit of the radiation from inside the oven. So it's always best to stand back while it's running. So the inverse square law, as this distance away from the oven, the energy gets less and less, and it just penetrates the top surface of your skin rather than penetrating within and start cooking. So here he talks about the typical mesh spacing should be less than the wavelength divided by 10, or better yet, wavelength divided by 20. The wavelength of an EM wave is calculated from wavelength times frequency equals c, where c is the speed of light in meters per second. If you want to protect against penetration of the highest cellular frequency, which is 2.4 gigahertz, which is what your Wi-Fi in the house uses, and also your cell phones, then you need a wire mesh of 2.65 millimeters, which is 1/4 of an inch to the Americans, and it will also work for lower frequencies. So, as I was saying, a particular UFO case where they're claiming to be abducted, they had a camera that went to static for 20 minutes on the camera, and they claimed they were abducted that night, and that's 20 minutes was the missing time. So I said to the guy in MUFON, I said, "What, have you tried a Faraday cage?" And he said, "I'm going to build one next." So I've given him the links here to work it out. So he needs to go to the hardware store and at least shield it for the 2.4 gigahertz range, and it has to be sealed. So any holes or any gaps will leak in some of the radio waves. So that's the problem, because if you're going to use an IP camera, you're going to have to poke a hole, probably for the external camera, for the antenna, I mean, for connecting to it. Or if you're going to use 4G, you want it outside the mesh, else you're going to block the signal. Although it would record still what it's seeing through the mesh, but if you look at that one there, that looks like it's going to block radio signals. That's probably the fineness of the mesh that you'd see in your oven door for microwave. As you can see, a camera can see quite easy through it, but you're going to lose some definition, obviously. But if you put it in a sealed box with its own power supply, like a motorbike battery, 6 volt, 12 volt, it probably could run probably a few days before it runs flat. Excuse me. So, yeah, how to charge it at the same time? Well, you're going to have to poke some holes in, which may leak some signal into the thing again, which you may be all right. It may not. It may be able to block out the radiation that the UFO is generated above the house and keep on recording. So what I'm going to do is play some of these videos here, and I'll post it down the side. So I'll post this one down here about calculating the mesh size if you want to try and build a Faraday cage and make it yourself. Hang on, take all the throat go. So yeah, you're going to have to experiment. So just close that one down. that's okay. Have I got the volume working? Let's have a look. I think I have. Okay, let's have a listen to this English guy here. So that's the first one. I'll post it down here. He's got the mesh that he's got here, electrical. Oh no, it's a book, is it? Electrical forensics. Well, let's see if the volume works.
I'm the author of Electrical Forensics. I'm here to look into Faraday cages and how they perform when they're on the ground. And we've got two grounds that we're going to compare. We've got the grounded tile floor, which is this one that we're currently on. We've got the ungrounded floor of laminate flooring. And this laminate flooring is on top of a grounded concrete floor. So right now we actually have a radio tuned into a station inside this Faraday cage. And the Faraday cage is not grounded right now. So we're going to ground it and we're going to see what happens. So listen to the radio. Now I didn't hear any change.
So I'll just explain what he's done is he's wired a household plug, just a wire to the earth pin of so it grounds it to the house grounded system, and just got the wire going connected to the mesh here, which is perfectly safe to do. So I'll just carry on.
Change between being grounded and ungrounded. So I'm going to unplug the ground. Again, there's no change. And I'm going to pull the cage off, and I want you to listen to the radio. So we now got full reception. So I'm now going to set it for the next part of the experiment. And that is, I'm going to put in a foil base. So let's see what happens when we put the cage back on. So listen to the radio. Okay, so there's a very big difference. We've actually lost all reception with the foil base. And now I'm going to ground the cage. And I didn't hear any change, so we still have no reception. So I'm going to unplug the ground. So let's repeat the experiment on the wooden floor.
So I'll just stop it there. So what he's saying is the floor is good enough ground. Well, you don't actually need the ground of the cage as long as the box is fully sealed. So the mesh acts as a solid side, and the other sides of the box are all sealed and touching on the tin foil here. So it forms a perfect box around the radio, and no radio signals get in. So that's how you test it with a radio, or if you want to test out whether you can phone a cell phone. If you put a cell phone in the Faraday box, you won't be able to call it because it's lost all interference from the outside, radiation from the outside. So although it's a good idea to ground the Faraday box to the ground of the house, I think, so it's always got a ground. But so basically he tries the same thing, and it makes no difference on the wooden floor to the thing on that video. So you can watch the full one of that anyway. So that's quite an interesting little experiment he did there. So we go to the next guy. Which one was the next one? Could be that one there. Making a Faraday cage. That one's talking about misconceptions of Faraday cages. I think this one, we'll have a listen to this one.
Hello, I'm Dr. Arthur Bradley, the author of several books on disaster preparedness, including this one, Disaster Preparedness for EMP Attacks and Solar Storms. Now today I'd like to talk just briefly about building a Faraday cage. So first things first, what is a Faraday cage? Well, a Faraday cage is really just a conductive enclosure, and it's used to protect electronics from the effects of an electromagnetic pulse or an EMP. Now there are different kinds of EMPs, and this is real important that we get this out of the way in the beginning. There are electromagnetic pulses that can be the result of a solar event, like some coronal mass emission might come towards the Earth. That can indeed cause an electromagnetic pulse. However, that electromagnetic pulse is a very low frequency event, and it does not couple into small scale electronics. So you would not need to put electronics inside of a Faraday cage to protect from a solar event. Many times on the internet, I find all kinds of articles where people talk about protecting their electronics from solar events by putting them in conductive enclosures, and that's really not necessary. To protect your electronics from a solar event, all you really need to do is unplug it from the electrical grid, or just unplug it from the wall. There are other kinds of electromagnetic waves that can damage small-scale electronics. They include directional EMP weapons, as well as the high-altitude nuclear EMP attack. Now, that one in particular is what most people are talking about when they talk about EMP events. And that is, if you detonate a nuclear warhead in the atmosphere at the right altitude, you could create a damaging EMP wave, which propagates down to the surface of the Earth and damages electronics. So, for example, you might know, and if an EMP wave were to hit it, the energy would couple likely in through the antenna and cause damage to the electronics. Now, that's true of many kinds of different types of electronics, from controllers to computers. So these EMP waves from high altitude nuclear EMP events can be very damaging.
So I'll just pause it there. So basically what he's saying is about the EMP weapons, relating this to the distortion they're getting on cameras where they're losing video. Again, it's the same principle. We want to protect the camera from external radiation that affects the batteries as well as the power supply, also the sensors, the chips inside the devices, which we know UFOs stop cars dead in the tracks when they hover over the road. So what he's saying here is there's different types of energy that can be produced, like solar events and nuclear bombs or nuclear EMP weapons, which are designed to take out the power grid and stuff, electronics and cars.
So how do you build a Faraday cage? Well, first thing is, you have to pick a box that's large enough to store the electronics that you're trying to protect. In my case, I'm trying to protect a scanner and maybe a shortwave emergency radio. So a box of this size is plenty adequate, probably could even fit a few more pieces of equipment in there. Besides some type of box, which can be just made out of wood or cardboard or plastic or any other type of non-conductor, you also need some type of conductive wrap. In this case, I'm going to use heavy-duty aluminum foil. You also would like to use some type of conductive tape, and I'll show you what this is used for at the very end. And finally, just a roll of just some standard adhesive tape. This just helps you tape down the foil around the box. All right, so let me wrap this box up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I get finished. Okay, so I've gone ahead and wrapped the box in aluminum foil. Now, I'm not a great present wrapper, but that's about what this job takes. And so you wrap the aluminum foil around each of the faces, taping down anywhere where it overlaps, overlapping it by about 1 inch or 2 so there's no bare spots. You wrap the bottom of the box as well, and it's okay to let the aluminum foil drape on the inside a little bit. You can line the entire box with aluminum foil inside and out if you'd like, but it's really not necessary. You do the same thing for the lid. So the lid, in this case, I wrapped all the way around, top and bottom. Notice the edges are all wrapped in aluminum foil. Now what you'd like is you'd like for this box to make a tight seal. So when I seal this box up, it's basically a conductive box with no gaps, no seams whatsoever. That makes an excellent Faraday cage. Now, the way you measure the effectiveness of a Faraday cage is something called the shielding effectiveness. It makes sense. And it's measured in something called a decibel, which is really just a ratio of things. So a ratio of the outside wave versus the inside wave. And we won't get into all the mathematics right now, but if you hear me talk about decibels, that's what I'm talking about, is how good of a job does this Faraday cage do. Now, the greater the shielding effectiveness, the better the Faraday cage is. At a minimum, you'd like about 50 dB of isolation between the outside and the inside. That means you want to take the incoming wave and divide it down significantly before it gets to the inside of the box. Just a little bit of energy squeaks in. It's very difficult to make it perfectly sealed, so you just do the very best you can. Now, people often ask me, well, how do you check your Faraday cage? And I'll show you how to do that.
This is interesting.
All right, so how do we check out our Faraday cage? Well, if you have all of the right RF test equipment, you can get a very detailed measurement of how effective your Faraday cage is. And I did that for my book, Disaster Preparedness for EMP Attacks and Solar Storms. I conducted some real RF experiments, put the data in the book so that it gives you some detailed numbers to work with. How good are microwave ovens? How good are ESD bags? How good are metal garbage cans? How good is a box trap like this? So that's in the book. Now, what about a poor man's way of checking? We don't have all that RF test equipment. Most people don't. So you can use any type of radio to at least get a cursory check of how good your box is. So in this case, I've got a scanner. If I put this scanner with the standard plastic whip antenna on it inside this box and seal it up, if it has even 30 or 40 dB of protection, the scanner should no longer be able to be heard. It shouldn't be able to pick up any stations whatsoever. So what you do is you dial up a strong channel. I think I've got one on here.
So basically, we saw that last video, but he also he tests various other boxes with meshes and like toolboxes, metal toolboxes, and seals them with the metal tape so there's no air gaps. So any little hole can let in radiation, of course, and it ruins the Faraday cage. So, but any Faraday cage with holes in it is still better than nothing, and could be used to shield a IP camera in the bedroom, I guess, and outside in the car. So what other bits has he got here? He has another video. This guy does a few videos where he tests out different designs and shows how much signal is lost. But yeah, I think a mesh is a lot better than maybe a solid using aluminium as myself. I would probably use a combination. Maybe if you had try metal as well as a mesh around the metal. I'd just try different things out myself. But yeah, enough of that one guy there. But he has got some other videos. I've posted his link down the side here. Is this the one that tests it? Maybe. Hang on, let me have a look. Okay. I think this might be the guy. Get to the part where he's doing an experiment. Oh, we'll have a hang on.
Okay, what you can do is go to any dollar store and pick up these aluminum blankets. They're like $1. Tape two of them together lengthwise. Lengthwise. So that you got about 8 feet of covering. And what you want to do this might work.
Might just work, huh?
This might work.
I'm not sure what he's doing.
Want me to hold it?
Yeah.
I'll just skim. I thought this was the guy that did the experiment. I wonder if it skipped. Not sure if this was the guy. I think this was the wrong video. Yeah, it looks like it. What's the video back?
Noise. Sometimes you
is
just can't get rid of it. For those
That wasn't the guy. I think this was the one. Let's just have a look. Yeah, so he's making a Faraday cage for cutting noise. He's making like I'll start it from there, I think. So you can actually put your hands in the side, but it still leaks some noise
with which
radio
to
signal.
manipulate your preparation for your experiments. To show it working, take your standard cockroach prep. Now here I've intentionally created a very noisy environment. I have my laptop hooked up to the wall outlet. I have my soldering iron on and the fluorescent lights on. And watch what happens when I turn on the spiker box. Too noisy for experiments. What can we do? Now take your alligator clip cable and clip it to the ground shield on the electrode connector. You can see this by looking at the spiker box on the side. Now place your spiker box into your Faraday cage. And clip the other end of the alligator cable to the screen mesh.
So it cut it down quite a lot.
You have much better signal quality. See those nice responses.
Even though it's got holes, it's not a perfect Faraday cage. You can see it reduces all the external noise and
Now there is an
interference.
interesting physics reason for why the Faraday cage works at all. Ask your teacher about it.
So that's that guy. I'll post him down the side if you want to watch his video on your gear. And the first one sort of sums it up, the misconceptions of the preppers. So have a listen to this guy last of all on Faraday cages, and I'll probably wrap it up. How we going? 2 hours. We lasted 2 hours, so that's pretty good.
Do with the Faraday cage that you don't. I'm going to be talking about a couple of those today. I'm going to be referencing a lot with this book here, which I highly recommend this book, this EMP Attacks and Solar Storms by Dr. Arthur T. Bradley. All right, first misconception is that you can test your Faraday cage using a cell phone or a radio. So this is my cell phone here. Yes, I still use a flip phone. I'm going to open up this Faraday cage that I've got here and stick this cell phone in here, and I'm going to make a call to it, and it's going to work, okay? And that's fine, and I'll explain that in a second. So let me open this up and put this in there. And then like that.
So here's an all metal tin rubbish bin, like with a lid, and he's saying the cell phone still works. That's because it's not a mesh on the outside. So if you use the mesh, you will stop the phone ringing as well. So solid metal is not the best cage. As you saw in the last video, the guy had a mesh, and you saw it cut down the noise from external radio frequencies. So just carry on.
Let me turn up the volume to make sure you guys can hear it. Make sure the bail is locked. Okay. Okay, I'm using my wife's phone to call it.
that sound you're hearing when he's calling the mobile phone, that's this radio noise from the antenna to the other phone, and that's what you pick up on the coil of the microphone of the recording that he's doing. And you'll often hear that noise on videos which don't cancel it out or don't have the phone far enough away. So that's the kind of interference you're trying to block.
Okay, there we go.
So
There
that's
we go. My wife is calling me on here. Now, why did this work? Why did this work? One thing I like to think of with a Faraday cage is that this isn't a wall that blocks all of the radio frequencies. What this is more like earplugs. Okay, so when you go and you shoot your firearm, you put earplugs in your ears, and you can still hear guns going off, but it doesn't damage your ears anymore. That's what this Faraday cage is going to do. This cell phone is made to use tiny amounts of power, amounts of wattage, and still be able to make a phone call. It can receive a small amount of power, still make a phone call, send and receive. Okay. Same thing with like a ham radio or a walkie-talkie or something like that. If you put a walkie-talkie in here, you're still going to be able to hear the transmission coming out of this Faraday cage. That's because this isn't blocking all frequencies. It's just toning it down so that it doesn't damage the electronics. In the same way that earplugs lower the decibels that you hear, and so that your ears don't get damaged, this metal skin here, this metal cage here, is going to frequency, and it's going to prevent your electronics from getting damaged. Okay, that's misconception number one. I think a lot of people really misunderstand that. There's a lot of YouTube videos of people putting a radio or their cell phone in there, and then it doesn't quite work, and they're like, "What? I think it's working." A lot of this stuff is covered in this book. Highly recommend it. Misconception number two. Let's go right into the book here. Right here is a diagram of how a Faraday cage really works. Okay, a lot of people think that you have to have your Faraday cage grounded, which is not true. Okay, you can see here that this Faraday cage, this little square here, is not grounded. This isn't going to be redirecting power into the ground. What it's going to do, as demonstrated in this diagram, is the radio waves are going to hit this and induce a magnetic field in here. So radio is going to hit this thing. It's going to create electricity inside of this metal. When it does that, it's going to create an opposite electromagnetic field inside of it. Okay, so the metal receives radio, creates an opposite field because of that charge, and inside of flow, electromagnetic field. Okay, so let me give you a little shot of this diagram here. You can see the electromagnetic field gets induced and it's going this direction, and inside.
So we saw that on the first video with the radio that he was doing with a mesh. He actually killed the radio signals completely because he had the right size hole in the mesh. As you can see, a full metal container doesn't stop those frequencies. And he proved that grounding it to the house had no result because he had a perfect cage around the outside. It redirected all around it, like keeping water out. So the water flows all around it. It doesn't enter. So this is what he's saying here. It induces a electron flow or current, a really small current, of course, in the metal itself. So that means you're going to have to insulate the inside of the metal so the objects don't touch the metal as well. And he covers that in a minute.
Because the electromagnetic field in here, the metal, it creates an opposite field. See, that's pointing the opposite direction. Creates a net zero. You don't need to have your Faraday cage grounded because the metal is going to create a magnetic field, which is the opposite of the magnetic field that you're receiving. Okay, started around quite a bit through that, but hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Next misconception is that an EMP or coronal mass ejection is going to take out all electronics. Okay, that's not quite true. Let me show you a little diagram from this book here. The different weapon creates a different frequency of the EMP. And different frequencies are going to affect different electronic devices. Okay, so like a cell phone is going to be affected mostly by high frequency EMPs. Okay, if we have a coronal mass ejection from the sun, we're going to have something like frequency EMP, and that's not likely to affect this electronic, but it is likely to affect something like the grid and power lines, so I won't be able to charge this. So the end result is that most people are going to not have power, but this electronic might still work. So something like a flashlight or something that's vital, if you've got some solar power or something like that, you'll probably be able to charge it. But again, it's highly dependent on what happened. If it's a nuclear missile that was designed to take out, everything, a nice wide swath, take out the grid, take out cell phones, take out cars, things like that, that could really take a huge toll. But something like a natural coronal mass ejection is going to be a little bit different. All right, next misconception, and this is going to ruffle, I think, quite a lot of feathers. Some people have a really romanticized view of EMPs, but according to this book here, not every car in the world is going to suddenly stop working. A lot of, I've read quite a few EMP books, and in the books, if your car is older than like 1980 or something like that, you're good. The thing's fine. After that, completely ruined. It's a giant paperweight, right? Not according to this book. According to this book, about 15% of the nation's 90 million trucks, we're talking about semi-trucks, would experience an engine stall, some with permanent damage. Approximately 70% of trucks would experience other anomalies, okay? This isn't saying that every single truck is going to break and then be done. And this is other anomalies, some with permanent damage, okay? You can check the sources on this for yourself, but a lot of the trucking and stuff is still going to work temporarily, right? If they can't get gas or something because there's no grid to provide the truck with gas, obviously the truck's not going to work, but the truck itself might be fine. So if you can store up some fuel, even if you've got a modern vehicle, it very well may be that your car is going to keep running, even with all those microchips that everybody claims is going to die. That's according to this book. I found this to be really informative here. Nice quick tip here is testing suggests that an EMP would cause approximately 70% of cars and trucks to experience an anomaly, with 10 to 15% immediately stalling. But again, that's not permanent damage, okay? A lot of vehicles are probably still going to work. Sorry to ruin that bit of a romanticized thing. I know a lot of people love the idea that we're all going to have to suddenly be Amish, but I don't think that's quite going to be true. All right, guys, that's it for the misconceptions. Let's move on to some Faraday cage talk here. So I've got this Behrens or Behrens or however the heck you pronounce this 6-gallon steel can here. I've reinforced it a little bit on the lid here. Let me pull this lid off and show you. A little bit of this aluminum tape here around some of the seams just to make sure that this thing is good and sealed. Now, this is my small Faraday cage, and this one I use to keep my bug out bag equipment in, such as flashlights and radios and things like that, a solar panel and a battery. I pull those out and move them into my bag when I do a mock bug out, but I keep them inside of this Faraday cage because they're so valuable. I don't want to keep them in a sealed one. I have another one that I have sealed with this same aluminum tape around the rim here, but then it makes it really difficult to open and expensive to open and close and open and close, as I use this thing very often. So this is just a small Faraday cage just for a couple of bags worth of items, okay? Let me show you what we got going inside here. So I'll pull the lid off, and first thing you see is cardboard. This thing has got tons of cardboard all the way around the edges of this here, on the bottom and on the top. That way the electronics cannot physically touch this metal here, because remember, this is going to have an electromagnetic field running through it. This is going to be electrified, right? Which is going to wear off after the EMP is done. I got this Faraday cage on the recommendation of this book. This guy tested a whole bunch of different Faraday cage styles here. So he's got a large can. This is the same can that I've got, a larger can. I've got the same one, ammo can, another one with some perforations in it, microwave oven, and like kind of a gun safe. I think this is probably one of the most valuable diagrams in this book, this little chart here. This shows the effective field negation of the specific Faraday cage that he tested, okay? So right here, this is my garbage can, right?
So that's quite a interesting chart indeed, where people are tested. And as you know, a microwave is to keep in the 2 gigahertz cooking frequency, and he's got here 100 kilohertz is reduced by 50 decibels, and all the way down to gigahertz, down to 0. So, and he reduces it as you get up to 50 megahertz. Yeah. So what you could do is put a radio in the oven and close the door and see if it loses radio signal, and also try your mobile phone, but don't turn it on, of course. So a microwave oven could be a cheap way of making a Faraday cage to keep some stuff in, but because it's got not perfectly sealed, the microwave ovens do leak. As you know, you lose Wi-Fi connection when you got 1 or 2 microwaves running at the same time in the kitchen, because we got 2 in our house. 2 in the house basically kills the Wi-Fi from my bedroom to the kitchen. So yeah, so but we don't want to break his copyright. So he talks about how much they cost. I'll just post that link in the side chat for you, so you can have a watch of it again. It was a bit glitchy showing it on the live here. So yeah, so that's about Faraday cages and how we could maybe use it to improve the capturing aliens that may be affecting cameras, as it's claimed. So that's pretty much all I was going to talk about tonight. We're over 2 hours, which is pretty good. We didn't have any technical glitches. Who's out there still? We've got a couple of people watching. I know we lost a couple that had to go to bed. 12:30, so probably should wrap it up. But there was one there where the guy tests out aluminium box and chicken wire. Chicken wire was hopeless because you got to use that equation to work out what size mesh you want. So UFO over house. So really, the idea was what technology is currently available and what we could use to survey or try and catch out people faking abduction, as well as maybe catch real abduction if they exist. Because we ain't got no real evidence apart from people all telling the same story, of course. Sort of draw a diagram, and still, just to sum it up. But it was just going to be a laid back Sunday talking about this stuff. And so here we'd have a UFO over a house abducting people. Of course, obviously these are fake. But that's the sort of thing we want to capture on film as it's happening. And what I was saying before is get one of these 4G IP cameras with Starlight sensitivity and have it across the street and have it focused on the house with the top of the house in view, like one of these ones here. So it's a stock photo, so it must be fake. But that's the sort of thing that you want to try and capture, of course. That would be really good. There's another one. Google Street View captures a UFO. That looks like a water tank, doesn't it? Or a hot air balloon. It could be a hot air balloon, yeah. Bit of a stick blowing off a camera. Google Earth, is it? UFO flying over Google Earth. That looks like a plane in the distance. A twig. So what else we got here? That one looks good, fake one. I reckon it's Google Street View. What is it? Another stick of a tree. Looks like it's got moss on here. Why is it blurry here though? Something weird there. It looks like it's been airbrushed out here, doesn't it? I reckon that was played around with, surely. I wonder if they've got coordinates for it. What's that one here? More Google Maps. That one there is a common one. That's actually lens flare, believe it or not. Because they've got one of those 360 view cameras that go around for street view on top of the car. And you get the sun in the right angle and you get these little pink UFOs with the white bit on top. So that one is definitely a Earth one. Street view. So what could that one be? Almost looks like something passing in front of the camera, for sure. But it won't be. It looks like it's close to the camera. It looks like looks almost like a piece of plastic top of a bottle blowing across the screen here. And what else? We got here another one. That one looks like a bit of trash, like a trash bag being blown about. It's amazing what they can catch on Google Earth for the street views. There's another pink UFO one. So let's have a look at this one. So they got sidetracked on this now, but it's quite interesting. Someone's video. I thought it's going to be a web page. Have we got coordinates for it? Definitely looks like a branch. No coordinates, of course. Waste of time. That's what we're on, did. 2012, so it's probably been updated since then. I reckon what's happened is a stick's fallen off a branch here and it's on top of that spinning camera and it's got flung off at some point probably. And that's why it's blurry on the edges here, maybe. Because it's moving. It's landed on the camera and got flung off in the wind. Definitely looks like a moss-ridden piece of stick, anyway. It's funny how it ends up on a UFO channel, though. Street view, no coordinates. Those blurs sure make it seem like CGI. Looks like it might have been dabbled with, so that's what I was a bit suspect of too. Yeah, there's a bit of blur going on here. So they may have taken an image from Street View because there's no coordinates and blurred it out in Photoshop to hide the rest of the stick, maybe, to make it look more like a UFO. And there may be another bit of stick coming down here that they've blurred out. Always be critical thinking. So what was this other one here? It looks like a bottle top lying across the street, or a balloon maybe. So there's the pink UFOs. Lens flare, lens flare. So have we got any coordinates? Doesn't look good, does it? Japan. That one there's probably a water droplet from rain as it's scanning, and it spins long ways as the car's turning or whatever. I wonder the coordinates to that one. Let's see, does it open up? Has that gone to Google Maps? Oh, that's good. Where is it though? It looks like it's been updated. It's very slow loading. How's my computer doing? 95, 97%. Oh, looks like it's been updated since. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. We could have had a closer look at it. I wonder what year it was posted. Have to go back a screen, I guess. Probably 2000. Oh, so this is 2018 updated January. I bet the other one was 2012 as well. Oh well. Not much we can look at there then. Is it going to go back? Oh. So did it have a date on it even? No dates. Didn't even look like it was the same street, did it? But I suppose it's a zoomed up version of it. We were seeing more down to here, I think, down this way. Does that one open up? Let's have a look. Pretty sure that's a water droplet. They look like silver UFOs. Of course, if it's still photographed, it's more. So again, it's been updated. August 2017, that one. So it's up the corner here. Of course, the basic web Google Earth doesn't have a what they call the timeline thing, where you can roll back all the images that it's had in the past. Doesn't seem to have that function on this one, I don't think. I think you only get it with the what they call it, time machine or something. Yeah, so it's got a compass though. Pretty. The camera tech has got a bit better since they took it last time. Let's have a look. So that's modern. They must keep driving around the streets to keep updating the street view, because it must change every year. So look how blurry and grainy that image is there compared to what we just saw. Sometimes that can be also a bug, but looks too clear, or it comes across like silver color. Still think it's a water droplet. So yeah, that was a good Good sidetrack there. Suppose we could look for some current Google Earth UFOs. Let's just see what we can find. Google Maps, maybe. Google Street View. Be better. Street View. UFOs 18. Any updates? So what have we got? Oh, look at this one. Looks like a bit like that tree one we're looking at. 7 wildest Google Earth. So let's have a visit of that site. Let's have a look. That one is crazy. Looks like a power cord. Something fell off the roof of the car, maybe. Looks like a screw on it there and a screw there. What the hell is it? It's not just on UFOs then. God. But all these horrible, stupid pop-ups. How do we close that one? Within sabotage, there's no close button. Continue without sign up. We wanted UFOs. So does that one work? Melton Moments. UFO over San Francisco. Another glitch in Street View. Looks like a super solid guitar case. Is it a guitar case? Don't know. It looks like the end of a plug to me. Aliens may not have come in peace, but they clearly can rock. Very funny. They want to suck you dry of energy. That one looks like it could be a water droplet there. I've got the pink UFO one again. Another one. What do we got here? It looks like a butterfly wing. So it looks to me like there's a common thing here. It's sort of half the pictures sharp detail, and the rest of it gets blurred. See that? Definitely looks like a butterfly. You can see its antenna here. See if we can zoom on that one. Well, you got to remember their camera's spinning around on top of the car. And if something passes really quickly in front, it's going to capture probably half the image. So that sort of makes sense, and that's why you get that blur as well. So you get some motion blur. What's this? Is it a UFO? Let's have a closer look. No, it definitely looks like a head of an insect. So you can see here, because of the angle view of the camera that's spinning around. So they must have a backpack one as well too. Do they walk around the foot trails? Looks like it. I think I might have seen it where they walk around with a backpack and do the tracks that can't get accessed by car. See, it looks blurry there. Kind of looks like he's doing something rude. That's been blurred out. But obviously it's a glitch because the way the camera works here. So here's another one. Again, it looks like it's blurred out at the bottom. Some skateboarder on a road. Half a skater kid. Now, what's the one on this one? Llama crossing. What's wrong with that one? Again, I can't see much wrong with that one. Car's a bit blurry, maybe because it's moving. So I'm doing fingers to Google. Yeah, he. Oops. Gusty day. He must have tilted that on purpose, is it? So there's not many UFOs again. Yeah, only caught the bottom half of the person this time, walking across. So yeah, it looks like they got backpack. It looks like a frog, is it? Half a frog. It's missing a leg this side. A bird. What is it? Some sort of crow? Magpie? Just about to be hit by the car, by looks of it. Oh, well. Another half a kid. Really strange. Anyway, we didn't get to see many UFOs again. The butterfly one was quite good though. That looks like a water droplet. And then on the lens, because it got sort of like a dome cover on top. Looks like a bird, maybe up there, it's flying high. There we go, we got a triangle. Let's have a look at that one. Alien proof. Is it a pattern on the grass or something? Or a crop circle maybe. Street view, they say. But it looks like it was coming down from top, from satellite or plane. What's going on? I better mute the sound because these sites always pop up background sound. Let's make sure it doesn't. Here it goes. It's playing a video. So I wonder if they got a map location. Come on, I'm trying to close you. It's not gonna. Can't see. It doesn't look like a triangle now though. It's kind of changed. Stupid program. What site's that one? Express. I really hate that site. Come on. Zoom out. Once zoom. This site's doing so much crap and behind the scenes it's using up all my CPU. So it looked good on that image. Triangle. Don't know what it is. Can't really see on that screen. Now we've got some other places that's got it too. So let's have a look at those ones. That one might be a better one. Triangle. It's definitely not street view because it's coming down from the top. What we got popping up now? Translation. No. So have we got some coordinates again? Nope. Can't see any. Let's see what happens when we click it. Nothing. Just opens it up bigger. Don't know if it's on the ground or in the air, do we? So these are markings that you get in the hills in UK, isn't it? So it could be something similar to that. Like a crop circle. Lion. KFC. Someone did KFC. It's kind of weird. Kind of looks like it's printed on though, doesn't it? Rather than something cut out in the ground. Again, we got no coordinates. Visit Google Map. Oh, as you already have. We've got some little tiny link. Let's see what happens. Could it be on top of a building? So where is it? Can't see it. It was there, wasn't it? In the photograph. It's not there now. Must have been spray painted on the ground. Looks like trucks and buildings. It's not there now. We'll go back. So does the other one have a link? It might have a little link. There we go. So we might have a link. That one's got a link. Go back to the triangle. Link. So I didn't see that before. So let's see what happens. I think it's downloading it. Oh, it is. It's downloading it. It's not actually linked to a map. Oh, that's no good. Yeah, it seems to open up something here. I think they must have done something wrong. Oh well, that one doesn't have a link. So what other ones? Let's try this site, see if that one has a link. So we've got some coordinates on the screen. But we can't cut and paste it, can we? So that one looks like it could be on the ground. And when we click on it, it just makes it bigger. 30, 30. I don't want to type it in. I think that's the only ones we got reference to. Oh well. Too bad. Well, we got one more here. Let's see if that one gives us a link. Oh, it's a damn video. Oh, he's going to do it on Google Earth. Ah, so it's in Australia. West coast. So has he got some coordinates for us? It's not really, yeah, here we go, we got cut and paste. So now we can plug it in ourselves. To that search. Now let's click on that. That's good. Giving us a map straight to it. On unseen. I better pause that video. Oh, it's already ended. So let's have a look ourselves. A long time to load. Ah, it's changed. So what do we got now? It's gone. It's got some other grids patterns here. What's that? What's these things? Wind turbines, are they? As I assume when it goes crazy. Yeah, well, this is a wind turbine. That's the blades we're seeing on the ground. So, what was the triangle then? Crazy. Where's the triangle? So these are lines in the picture that we're seeing. So it must be further along, maybe. Further along this way. Oh, here we go. 3 lines between 3 wind turbines. So that's what it is. They just mowed the ground, or we're doing building construction by the looks of it. That would explain it. So no UFO solved. So that's a wind tower there, or there. Wind tower. I've never seen wind towers put in a triangle like that before though. That's kind of strange. So that one's been solved. But yeah, it sort of has tracks going around. There it is there. Definitely what it is. It's the right location. So that must be a paddocks of trees or something there, and dirt ground where there's no trees. See, there's a triangle. Triangle of trees. They got these wind things. Definitely looks like they set them up in triangles for some reason. Certain space on the part. Oh well, that one's solved. Definitely looks like the triangle anyway. Perfect triangle. Oh well. Well, that was fun. So, when a secure team hasn't used that one. Maybe because it's not on the map anymore, like that. Oh, here's that one again. But we went there, it wasn't there anymore. Oh well, I think it's time to wrap up. Oh, 3 hours already. Well, that was fun night anyway. Going over stuff. And next one will probably be middle of the week sometime, probably. So this actually worked all right, the stream today. Didn't have any technical problems whatsoever. So I'm just going to cue some music up and say good night to you guys. And do like and share, or helps the channel out. And I'll bring you some more UFO topics to look at stuff together. So I'll just cue my music, see if it works. Stopped up last time. So good night to everybody, and hit the like button and share it to socials. See you again soon. Good night.